Hello, this is Ben Welsh again here in the LA Times newsroom. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to access a column on a data frame and count up the frequency of values in it, how often they occur. We're going to do that using another of Panda's tricks that we haven't covered so far. It's called value counts. But before we begin, let's review where we left off. I'm here in the notebook that we saved in our last lesson, where we began by reading in a CSV file and saving it in a variable called props that included all of the committees linked to propositions in the November 2016 elections here in California. And here was a brief peek at that file, and then finally the info that was printed out by Pandas. And when we looked at it before, you may have noticed that there was a column called prop name. And just looking up at the data frame, we could see that that included the name of the proposition that each committee was linked with. There's a natural question that might occur to you. How many props are there? And which props have the most committees? That's something that we can do really quickly as our first bit of analysis using a built-in method in Pandas. Let me show you how. I'm going to now scroll down to the bottom of my notebook, and there I'm going to begin by typing in the name of our data frame, which again was props. Now remember, by typing period after that, we gain access to all of the many built-in methods that make Pandas so powerful. But there's more than that. We also gain access to each of those individual columns that we saw listed in the info statement above. And the one that I'm interested in looking at now is called prop name. So I'm just going to type the name of the column right there, .prop name. How did I know to type prop name? Because that's exactly what appeared right here in the info statement. And it just so happens to be what was in the header in the first row of the CSV. That's translated directly from the CSV file into our Pandas variable names. So I'm going to do props.prop name. Now if I hit the play button to run that cell, it's going to print out that column for every row in the spreadsheet, but only that column. Rather than a data frame, this is what's called a series in Pandas. It's a list of values that have been printed out all on their own, not within a grid or table like we saw with the data frame. We saw some of these early on when we were first experimenting with Pandas, and here they are again. This is a series. Now, because this series, as you can see, is not a list of numbers, we can't do things like calculate the average or the median or those other kind of standard descriptive statistics. But we can really easily do all kinds of things we might want to do with categorical data, or like this. Data that comes in columns that are in strings, or what are called objects in Pandas jargon. And those methods, just like mean and max and median, and the ones we looked at before, are available behind another period put on that series name. And this is a case where we're now going to begin stringing together our code and chaining the methods within one line by doing props.prop name and then another period. I've accessed a whole other set of magic methods that the series prop name has available. Now there's one that every series always has for you, and that's called value_counts. It's not the prettiest name in the world, and it might be a little hard to remember exactly what it is, but there it is, value_counts. And if I hit tab, see how the notebook automatically finished that for me just by hitting the tab key? This is one of these great things about the notebook, is it knows those methods are in there, and it can auto-complete things for you to help you when you can't remember things or you don't feel like typing it out. But we do .value_counts, and then again, because this is a method, we need to do open parenthesis, close parenthesis to access it. So props.prop_name to access the series that's within our data frame, and then finally .value_counts, open parenthesis, close parenthesis to run this new method. What will it return? Let's see. Hit the play button. And you can see here, it's a little hard to read because the names of these propositions are very long, but you can see it has grouped the data along that column and then has counted up how frequently they occur and ranked them from top to bottom. It's difficult to read. I can see it because I've seen this before. We can see that proposition 57, with its long name, comes first, followed by a count of 13, meaning there were 13 committees or rows in this spreadsheet. Then coming next was proposition 56 about the cigarette tax, and it had 12. Marijuana legalization, it had 11 committees, and down the line through all 17 of the ballot measures, or propositions, as they're sometimes called. Now, this is pretty ugly, right? This is about as ugly as that series we looked at. And that's just one of these quirks of pandas that you just kind of have to live with as a pandas user, is that when you do a method like value counts on a series, it returns another series that can sometimes be hard to read. Now, I don't know about you, but I would find this much easier to read if it came out as a data frame or a table like the ones that we see here above. How do we do that? It's not hard. It just requires another one of these built-in methods that Pandas has that you have to know about and that you have to use at the right times. And to take a series like this that has two columns of a value and its count and convert it into a table or a data frame, there's a method, and it's not a perfect name. I myself personally don't like the name of this, but I have to live with it because it's built into Pandas, is called reset_index. All right? And so now, again, I can chain yet another method onto my method, right? By going to the end of this line, adding a third period, we're getting crazy, right? And then this other method I just happen to know about, reset_index, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. And so we will start with our data frame. We will then output the series of a single column. We will then ask Pandas to group and count the values within that column. And then what comes back from that, we will then ask Pandas to reset as a data frame. I'll hit the play button, and you can see now we have something that's much more legible. They've truncated the characters a little bit, but that's probably for the best. And we can see that proposition 57 had the most committees with 13, and down at the bottom, proposition 65 about carry-out bags only had 1, and we can see the range in between. And this value counts trick, often followed by reset index, if like me you prefer the data frame, is a very simple way to quickly get the frequency of values within your columns if you just want to kind of see what's in there without having to write a lot of code to analyze it. In some ways, it's very similar to a Microsoft pivot table in Excel. That's all for this video. I hope everything's going well. Remember to save your notebook on the way out. See you in the next one.